This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you on another absolutely glorious day. Is it really October? I guess it looks like it's October outside. It feels like it's probably mid-August right now. We will take it, though, as we count down we're 1 week away from the Winnipeg Jets beginning their season right here, downtown Winnipeg, Canada Life Center against the Dallas Stars. And the team was back on the ice today, and everyone waiting to see and hear from Coach Scott Arniel on both Connor Hellebuyck, who, of course, did return and play in the game on Tuesday night after missing practice, and Jonathan Toews, who escaped, who left the game, I should say, did not escape without injury, tweaked something on the weekend. And, you know, I know they put out the practice groups today. Toews was listed. The big drama was whether he would be out there. And the answer to that is no. However, right now it does not sound serious. We'll get the update from Scott Arniel in just a moment on Jonathan Toews. We've got a packed show today. We are going to be welcoming in Dave Pagnotta. Still a lot of conversation around the league on the Kaprizov deal and what is happening with some of the other remaining pending free agents, including Kyle Connor right here in Winnipeg. We'll get Dave in on from the fourth period to get his thoughts on the season coming up as well. And then we're actually going to go to the Twin Cities. Our pal Jessi Pierce is going to jump on and talk about the Wild coming up this season. And, of course, the sticker shock to everybody of what Bill Guerin and the Wild did, giving $17 million a year to their star player, Kirill Kaprizov. Ken Wiebe is going to join us. Ken, of course, was down today. He'll have much more on the Jets as we get ready for the upcoming home opener 1 week from today. Then we're going to have Joe Pascucci jump on the program. And I wanted to have Scooch on Monday. He was tied up. But, with the Bombers being off this week, great time to sort of look at the landscape of the Canadian Football League, who's rising, who's falling right now. And, of course, Joe being a historian of the Canadian Football League, I'm really looking forward to have his takes on what we heard from Stuart Johnson at the beginning of last week as well. We'll have Pat jump on a little later on. Got to get to these baseball games. I mean, if you are a baseball fan today, it doesn't get much better than this. 3 deciding game 3s in the wild card series. Of course, the Dodgers took care of the Reds last night, but the Guardians and Tigers, the Cubs and Padres, and then Yankees, Red Sox tonight, all will determine the winner of their series. And, of course, the Toronto Blue Jays waiting to see which AL East rival they'll be playing on Saturday at the Dome. And that will be determined by tonight's Boston-New York game. So we got a great Thursday sports lineup coming up with the baseball and, of course, a Thursday nighter in the NFL between the decimated San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams, and a packed show to get you ready for all of it. Listen, just before we welcome Michael Remis in, huge thanks to all of our sponsors who make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet. By the way, we will have our NHL Futures WST Winners Special. That's going to come up on Saturday. I think we'll premiere it right after the IC guys finish. So for all of you regular Legal Curve viewers and listeners, from 9 to 11 a.m., jump on over to Winnipeg Sports Talk. And myself, Jake, and Pat will take you through all of our favorite props and picks for the upcoming NHL season. And early next week, myself, Remis, and Connor will have a special on the Winnipeg Jets for the upcoming year. Win totals, odds to do many great things that we all hope they're able to achieve, as well as focusing in on a number of props for the top Jet players as well. That's all coming up early next week as well, but Saturday at 11, don't miss that NHL Futures Preview on WST Winners. Also want to thank our friends at Princess Auto. Of course, they're great new sponsors at Chud's Power Sports. Tomorrow, our first Chud's Power Sports Power Poll. I'm going to hit the NFL right into Hacksaw and see what he has to say about that. Of course, the Winnipeg Jets, the HSC Millionaire Lottery, Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center and Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug. We'll have a why not question of the day, and we'll get to your fan feedback for fansfirst.ca. Let's welcome in Michael Remis as we get this show on the road. What's going on? How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. A little relieved now we got this Jonathan Toews news. Certainly some concern that, how disappointing would it be for him to miss the home opener? It sounds like something pretty minor. So feeling good, but yeah, excited about all these baseball games today. Feels a bit weird with the Bombers being off, but just gives us more time to focus on hockey season. Really close to Tuesday, opening day with the Jets kicking it off Thursday. So a week from today, counting down to Jet Stars.
We're going to hear from Connor Hellebuyck as well. And again, I have been on air, so I have not heard this from Hellebuyck, but I saw the Mitch Clinton tweet that said Connor Hellebuyck said he had a rib out of place. That's what caused him to leave practice the other day. He says he feels all good now. All I could say was, excuse me? A rib out of play? Again, goalies, I won't touch it. He's the man, favored to win the Vezina Trophy again for a third straight year. But, Remo, let's face it. We're waiting. There's a lot of things. Hey, who's playing with who? How's the team looking going into the final preseason game? But there was simply one question going into today's skate, and that was the condition of Jonathan Toews. As you mentioned, I think, once we heard that he tweaked something, left, and yesterday was an off day for the Jets, it gave many of us times to hope, but also worry a little bit that this great comeback story that we hope to see unfold in Winnipeg might not start next Thursday for the home opener.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. And Connor Hellebuyck, it sounds like he was just stiff and needed a bit of an adjustment there and was able to get it. We'll play the clip shortly. And for the Jets, last year they had such a great start, set a franchise record, President's Trophy. It's going to be really hard to top last year's regular season. We'll see how it starts off, and some concern with Sandberg being out, who's going to fill in for his spot, how do you replace him? And you had Murat on yesterday, and he said, oh, you can't. Just have to lower your expectations. And so we've got that battle, and a bit of a battle here with the forward group. But yeah, the home opener next week, and some concern with the injuries. Nemesnikov back on the ice today. He's fine after taking that bad hit from Trenton in the preseason game. So the players, they're ready to roll here for next Thursday. And seems like everyone's okay. But Hellebuyck, if he was out long term, there's a reason why he won the Hart Trophy as MVP. He's excellent goalie. We saw that on display and looking to get right here. And he'll be playing in the final preseason game on Friday against Calgary.
Lines today, Connor Scheifele, Velarde, Vlad in between Perfetti and Nyquist. Obviously, no Jonathan Toews. Morgan Barron skating between Iafallo and Niederreiter. Ford with Koepke and Pearson. And Gus kind of mixed in. Well, Gus was with Lambert and Chibrikov and Dewar mixed in. The defense pairings, and we'll talk more about this with Ken to see what he gauges from it all, and we'll hear from the coach. Morrissey, DeMello, Stanley with Pionk, Fleury with Shen, Heinola, and Miller were the four pairings in practice today. And, of course, the power play, as we mentioned, Cole Perfetti taking Nikolai Ehlers' spot, and Iafallo, Pionk, Nyquist, Niederreiter, and Nemesnikov with Jonathan Toews on the shelf. But let's hear from Scott Arniel. No doubt what the first question was going to be. What's up with Jonathan Toews? Here was Scott Arniel's update on number 19.
Yeah, he's day-to-day. Kind of tweaked something the other night in the game and just didn't feel like we wanted to push that any farther. So just day-to-day. He's in, got treatment today. We'll move on tomorrow.
Is that to be expected, with a player who's been away from the game, that this is very...
We've had some other guys that have kind of done the same thing. Maybe you guys haven't noticed it, but there's been a couple of guys that sort of get on this day-to-day thing. We're not in a situation to rush, and these games aren't some that you have to play in and you have to win it type thing. So, no, we're trying to get him and everybody else ready for next week.
All right, so, listen, day-to-day tweaked something. I'm not putting him in the lineup as of yet, although there could be. Listen, we had him. Oh, what's up with Dylan Sandberg? He's got a broken wrist and he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. So it could have been a lot worse than what we heard from Scott Arniel, but everyone hoping that Toews will get back on the ice soon. I would imagine that his availability for that final preseason game, which I know he did say he wanted to take part in, he said he was hoping to play in 4 games, and I think that will be kind of treated by the Jets as a dress rehearsal for the upcoming home opener, is probably in question right now. But just hopefully, fingers crossed from all Jet fans, that we'll see JT in that Jet jersey when the puck drops on Thursday night at Canada Life Center. We've talked a lot about the depth of this team. Arniel was asked about that and the versatility of the lineup with Nemetstikov being able to go back to a place he spent pretty much all last season, the 2-hole, the center position in line 2.
That's what I really like about our group. We've seen it over the last couple of years, like Al jumping up, being able to go he went from our 4th line to our 1st line different times. Vladdy's been able to go wing center, play up. We've got a few guys now that within our roster that can do that. So it helps me as a coach when those big injuries happen, that you have people, you're confident in them. Sandberg going down, I have some confidence in the other D that are stepping up to fill those holes. So they've done it in the past, and we would like to feel that we can do it again.
All right, so for the meantime, it'll be Vlad back in that spot, a place that he's very familiar with playing. Parker Ford's still hanging around with this team, and was in the mix today, skating in the middle of Koepke and Pearson, with Toews out. Many people think, we've kind of assumed, or I at least have, that David Gustafson's probably the 13th forward, but interesting that it was Ford in there. Here's what Arnie had to say about Parker Ford.
Well, he's still here, and he's here with us, with the rest of the other young guys. He impressed us last year with his details, work ethic. He's, we slid him into the middle. I think he went again. He went 8-1 or something on faceoffs the other night. Right-handed draw. Been doing a little bit of penalty killing. There's a lot there we like, and we'll just see. He's still in the fight. So, it's just that's all you ask these kids: put your best foot forward, and he's done that.
All right, certainly earning more looks from the coaching staff, and did it in the game and back at practice today, centering what looks like the 4th line with the switches in the absence of Jonathan Toews. One guy that I think we know we'll see at center to begin the season was the guy that moved over to center just after the trade deadline when the situation required it and never looked back. That's Morgan Barron. Here's Scott Arniel on Morgan Barron and the move to the center position.
That was a big, that decision we made at the deadline last year, the trading deadline. We were maybe looking at to acquire a centerman, some depth, and then it didn't come about. And then we had talked about it prior, about maybe having Morgan go in there, and man, oh man, he grabbed hold of that spot, and he was good there. Played a big part for us, and now again he's just coming into training camp this year knowing that that's where he was going to start. Now it's through injuries, whatever it might be, he gets bumped up a little bit if he has to. We'll see where it goes, but that's just part of guys getting more opportunity and taking advantage of that ice.
All right, so Scott Arniel on Morgan Barron, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Morgan Barron right out of the gate playing in the middle with the Winnipeg Jets. We saw him make some big plays, really utilize his speed, taking the puck to the net, more so than I think he was able to do on the wing. And certainly Barron will be a big part of what the Winnipeg Jets are throwing out on the ice in the first game of the regular season. Now, the Jets had a historic season last year. I mean, winning the President's Trophy. I mean, they had the most points of any team through 82. They're about to play one of 82. Now, there have been some changes, but the bar has been set very, very high. And Arniel was asked, for a team that always says they're looking to improve, the challenges of improving on a season where they were better than anybody else through 82 games.
Well, it's a good question. I think that's part of what we talked about from the opening speech at training camp. We didn't win the Stanley Cup, and we didn't get past the second round. We've got some work to do to get there. You got to, first and foremost, you got to get in the playoffs. Our division didn't get any easier. The Western Conference isn't any easier. They got the Olympic schedule on that as well. So we talked an awful lot about using this training camp, that we were going to work hard, that we were going to push the players hard. They know that. We want to drive up our compete level even more than what it was last year. I think that we kind of pushed that word compete because of what had happened the prior 2 years and kind of in the playoffs. And if we didn't do what we did for 82 games, I don't know if we would have been able to handle that St. Louis series because of the physicality and how tough it was and how mentally tough it was. And we did a good job of getting ourselves ready for Game 83. This year, it's the same thing. All those things need to be in place. Our defending, our offensive game, our specialty teams. But I'd like to take our battle level. We can win more battles. Now we're in to compete. Now we can battle a little bit more often and win a little bit more often. And that's why this camp has a lot more of those one-on-one, two-on-two, three-on-three kind of head-to-head type things that we've been looking for to get the best out of these guys.
All right, so there's Scott Arniel. We got a little bit more from Coach. We should have some time a little later on for it. But let's hear from Connor Hellebuyck. And, obviously got into a game, played. But here's the question I was interested in. I'm very interested to hear it from his mouth. Helly on missing the last skate because he just wasn't feeling right.
Well, I had a rib out of place. All I needed to do was get a good back crack, and no one could do it here, so I had to get off the ice. It was skeletal, so I couldn't really move. I went to the chiro, and he put me back in place in like 5 minutes. And I was back here just as practice was ending. So, you can't fight to that when you can't move. But, when you're in tune with your body, even the smallest adjustments and slightest things that are off.
Is that pretty normal for you to, have the back or whatever out of place like that?
I mean, if you ever slept wrong and woke up a little sore, it happens. It's not that big of a deal. You just pop it back in and continue to move on. It was just odd that no one here could do it before before the skate. Yeah, that's normal.
What? In the long era of great Hellebuyck quotes, I had a rib out of place. Probably into the top 10 for sure. Bottom line is he was smiling. He's feeling good. And 37 will be ready to go next Thursday when the Jets take on the Dallas Stars. Listen, we got Dave Pagnotta coming in. Another huge RFA signing of a number that will drop your jaw. We're going to get to that in just a minute. But hey, folks, it is time to get, if you haven't already, get your tickets for the HSC Millionaire Lottery. The next early bird deadline for the super bonus is next Thursday at midnight, the night of the home opener. The super bonus includes your choice of a 2026 4Runner valued at $57,700. An incredible Jets package with a suite with food and beverage, $1,000 Jets gear gift card, $25,000 in Indigeno travel vouchers, and $20,000 cash. Or show me the money, Jerry Maguire style, $55,000 cash, and another 4 winners of $1,000 in Red River Co-op gift cards for gas and groceries. You'll also be eligible for the Grey Cup bonus, the other early bird draws of $85,000 cash, and of course the grand prize. Someone's going to be Manitoba's newest millionaire with one of 5 dream home packages valued at $1.5 million, or the cash grand prize. You can opt for $1.25 million cash. Get your tickets today, hscmillionaire.com. And you can also get them in person at your local Red River Co-op location or London Drugs. And it is all in support of Manitoba's hospital, the Health Sciences Center. If you got a move coming up, folks, why don't you holler at our friends over at Rolly's Transfer, proud WST sponsors. You've seen the WST truck rolling around Manitoba all summer long. And of course, family owned and operated, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Head on over to their website at rollys.com. You can click on request an estimate, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. Let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to go, and they'll turn around with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that Rolly's has been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's. Find out more, request an estimate today online at rollys.com. Well, all smiles today from Connor Hellebuyck, and I guess most Jet fans knowing that Jonathan Toews is just day-to-day. If you got to work on your smile, or it's been a minute since you've been to the dentist, or you're just looking for an amazing spot for you and your family to get your dental work done, head on down to St. Vital Dental Center. Our pal Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff would love to take care of you, as they've been doing for generations of Manitobans, from 6 months to 99 plus, with a full array of services from cleanings and checkups all the way to more extensive processes like dental implants. They've got a beautiful new facility, 167 St. Anne's, free parking right behind the building. So get on down there or find out more and book an appointment online at stvitaldental.ca. And just before we bring in Dave Pagnotta, no Bomber game this week, but we're getting ready for that big one in Edmonton and the push to the playoffs. Of course, Canadian Club is a proud sponsor of the Bombers and the official spirit of the blue and gold. And the new limited edition CC Bomber label Canadian Club is available while supplies last at your local Manitoba liquor marts. So Bomber fans, it'll be a great thing for some great cup parties as well. Let's just hope the Bombers are in it. Pick it up at your local Manitoba liquor marts while supplies last. The original Canadian whiskey since 1858. And while you're at it with this beautiful summer weather, grab a CC Club pack as well, which has been so popular this summer. All right, always on the move, on the road. Let's connect in with the man himself from the fourth period, Dave Pagnotta, who joins us from, as they say in wrestling, parts unknown. Pags, what's going on?
How are you, buddy?
Doing great. Reem, I think we got the echo if you want to just pop that in. Dave, it has been a crazy week in the National Hockey League. The Kaprizov deal, I mean, listen, I guess wait and you see what happens. I mean, he turned down 16 and he got 17. Listen, we'll get to this latest deal in just a second, but what was you talk to a lot of people every day around the league. What was the reaction in hockey circles to the ransom that the Minnesota Wild paid for their top player?
I mean, look, this factored in. It's going to factor into more contracts moving forward, first of all. But the way that the cap is going up, like it's projected, and I'm going to say this lightly, projected to go up to 104.5 next year. Or excuse me, 104, then or whatever it is, 104.5, and then 113. There's a lot of talk that this could go up to 107, 108 next year. It may even reach close to 120, if not 120 in 2 years. The cap's going up. The high price boys want to be paid like the high price boys, as they should. I get it. So getting $16 million a year now in 3 years is going to be, second tier first line player in the National Hockey League, like second half, like in that respect. So to get to 17, it puts him in that realm where it's still top echelon of the National Hockey League in 2, 3, 4 years from now. And that's what's being factored into a lot of these different contracts. We need to get used to the fact that we're going to be seeing more 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, $15 million contracts on the regular moving forward. And Kaprizov, they believe, and he believes that he can crack 100 and be consistent for the next few years, at least in that vicinity. That justifies that type of price tag. And this wasn't a matter of him holding out for more money. He said it. I love Minnesota. I want to be here. I pay my agent to do his job. Let him do his job. His agent did a pretty good job.
I'll say. And the funniest part of it was that when he and Guerin sat down for their press conference and someone said, "Hey, Carol, are you happy?" And he goes, "He better effing be." It's, I mean, it is obviously Minnesota. They said that no team would outbid them. And I mean, they got the job done. So credit to them. They could not. I mean, this is a team that could simply not afford to lose Kaprizov. I mean, listen, credit to them. I mean, pretty amazing that they lost him for half the season and were able to make the playoffs and still be a competitive team. But I mean, moving forward, they've got Boldy, they've got Faber signed. Now they've got him. Like, they've got the key players long-term signed. And now for Bill Guerin, it's the job is to surround him with more talent to be right there with the Winnipeg and Colorado, and of course Dallas in the Central Division. But how did it go over? Sorry, go ahead. Just to add to that quickly, I know Philip Gustafson, their goalie, is a free agent next summer, and I'm sure they're going to get to that. But over the longevity of Kaprizov's contract and Boldy and Faber, like you said, the next goalie coming up, I totally blanked on his name. Starts with a W. Anyway, like, this kid is projected to be their next number one. Oh, Wahlstrom, Jesper Wahlstrom. Yeah. So, I mean, and they're comfortable in net there. So, talking about locking up the core, that along with the goalie of the future, that's a year or two or maybe 3 away. Yeah, that the future looks pretty decent there. And yeah, you're right. It's up to Guerin to insulate these guys now. Yeah, Jesper Wallstedt, the Minnesota goalie. We saw him a little bit last year. For a while, they were carrying 3 goalies, and they're certainly very, very high on him. So listen, and folks, buckle up for this one. This has just come out over the past hour or so. Oh, yeah. I would bet, before we even say this, I bet if we ask casual hockey fans if they have even heard of Jackson Lacombe, they might give you a blank stare. Yep. The young Anaheim Duck defenseman who has played 2 seasons in the NHL, coming off a year where he had 14 goals and 43 points in 75 games last season for a young rebuilding team that wasn't in the playoffs, just inked a deal. I just want to make sure I'm reading this right. 8 years by $9 million, becomes the highest paid player by total value in Anaheim Duck history. It's not just the Kaprizovs that are getting paid right now, Dave. Wow. Luke Hughes yesterday, 7 times 9. Lacombe now 8 times 9. And let's see what Montreal does with Lane Hudson, because that guy's going to cash in what appears to be at least 9 now, depending on what his term is going to be. Big money, no whammies. This is I told you got to get used to these bigger numbers that we're seeing. And yeah, biggest contract total value right now in Anaheim Ducks history. That'll change once Leo Carlson gets his contract. He'll be up in about a year or whatever it is. So, and the way he's projected to go, that's going to be 10 plus. Look, a lot of money. We talked about those 2 guys. I just mentioned Lane Hudson. Starting July 1 of 2026, guys like Quinn Hughes and Cale McCarkin signed their deals. Buckle up for those contracts. Those are going to be big dollar deals, 14, 15 million more. So get ready for those. Money across the board is increasing. What I found most interesting, though, about the Ducks situation is they played hardball with Mason McTavish all summer. Big time. All off season, yeah. And he went in going, I'll sign for 7 times 7. If you want 8, got to be a little higher. He wanted 7 plus on a long term. The Ducks came back and offered him 5 years under 6, and then they settled on 6 times 7 into camp, which they could have done that a month ago and avoided any potential headaches and avoided having him miss a week of camp. And then they come out today and surprise everybody and say, all right, we also did this. Interesting way of going about business. But overall, the Ducks are happy because they get, a big chunk of their future locked up in a week's time, not even. Outside of super superstars, I mean, the number one overall picks, the Celebrinis, the Bedards, who will sort of be in their own category. Are teams prioritizing the value of young defensemen over young forwards right now?
It seems like it. It certainly does. I mean, based on the contracts that are being dished out, Noah Dobson, when he got traded to Montreal, jumped in at $9.5 million on his 8-year extension, or new contract, I should say, with the Canadiens. And he took a little bit of a haircut to do it because of the core of that Montreal Canadiens group taking a little bit less themselves to kind of spread the money around. Suzuki took less, Caulfield took a little bit less, Slavkovsky took a little bit less, although he better wake up this year because they're paying him over $7 million, and they like him to start producing like that first line player that he is right now. But Dobson locks in at $9.5 million, and you're starting to see some of these other guys kind of in that same boat, in the $9 million range, or $9 million bang on with Lancome and with Hughes. Guys in their early 20s. Lane Hudson is 21. Yeah, $9 million a year could definitely impact a lot of people. But he's probably cashing in a little bit higher if he goes full term. So it certainly seems like, and it's a combination of prioritizing, but also just the amount of talent that there is right now across the board in the National Hockey League that comes on defense is at a significant high right now. And there are others that are in that same boat that are just starting their incline. So we're in a very strong beginning of a ridiculously good defensive crop era that I'm excited to see how these guys kind of continue to develop. Because these guys are Lancome and Hughes and Hudson, even though he won Rookie of the Year and had 60 whatever points, like these guys are just scratching the surface of what they're capable of.
Yeah, a lot of talk about the deal that the Jets did with Dylan Samberg as it relates to this. And I think we just lost Dave. Oh, here, he's back. You see some people going, and the Jets blew it by not signing Samberg to, one of these really long extensions, like, getting it 7 or 8 years. And, it was clear they didn't find the landing spot. He essentially got, what he would have gotten in arbitration for 1 year, and then got Slavin money. And Slavin's extension is just kicking in right now. You want to talk about a deal that looks good from when it was signed. How much of this, like for players that don't have the points, but do everything else well, a Samberg like that, a player is a perfect example of that. How much more important in these negotiations is it just simply having the points as opposed to being guys that can, affect games in so many different ways? I'm still interested to find out where that, like if the Jets are going to extend Samberg in 3 years and he continues to do what he's doing, where that number is going to end up. Dave, I was just saying while you popped in and out, I'm interested in, it seemed like the Jets compromised with Samberg and gave him the Slavin money for the 2 years of UFA. If you don't have the points, but do a lot of other things well, can defensemen get into these territories? Or if you want 9, you want 10, you got to be a guy that puts up the points on the board.
Sorry, 1 second. Let me just activate Dave's microphone.
Dave, hold on 1 sec. We just got you back. We had to get you activated again. That good, Reem?
Yeah, good. Should be good.
Okay, right on, Dave.
From the side of things.
We lost.
You know what? This is nuts. Dave, try and just pop back in. If I don't know what the deal is with that. But I mean, I'll say this. Let's throw the why not question of the day out to everybody in the chat right now. What are your thoughts on the Dylan Samberg deal and the length of it, considering what the cost is for some other young defensemen? Now, granted, Luke Hughes, Lacombe as well. I mean, basically offensively producing about twice what Dylan Samberg has done. But like so many other people, I'll make the argument that Dylan Samberg, when you're talking about winning playoff games and winning playoff series and doing those sorts of things that teams want to do, add a whole bunch of, it adds a whole bunch more than maybe some of the other players that we've just mentioned, with the exception of that high-end offensive upside that has been missing. It is interesting, Remis, in every one of these deals that was signed, a month ago, 2 months ago, when you compare them to where things are going, certainly if you got guys on 8-year deals a year ago or so, they're looking great right now. The Samberg one in particular, obviously we're not going to see him for the first month or two of the season, but it will be fascinating to see what his offensive numbers are and whether his sort of bet on himself with that 3-year extension pays off in a big way when it comes time for another deal.
Yeah, it's interesting looking back at the Perfetti and Samberg negotiations, how they went, and we were saying here they should lock them up. The cap's going up. You want to get them at a low number. Their play's increasing. I think we said to lock up Samberg for 8 years. I remember you and Brandon had a conversation before the previous contract he signed. So you look at these contracts, Lacombe, Nico Mikla getting $5 million AAV. And for the Jets, they kind of got the lower cap hit now in this window where they're winning the President's Trophy and you can add other pieces around. And we said, hey, they would be happy to pay, but what is the cap hit going to be for a guy like Perfetti if he has a breakout season for a Dylan Samberg? But I kind of agree with the flip side. Hey, Samberg's not really a points producer, and those guys historically haven't got paid the big money like we saw for Luke Hughes. So I think, and again, if you're Mark Scheifele and Connor Hellebuyck, you're getting, $8 million AAV, and they're getting lapped.
8.5.
Okay, well, you're getting lapped here by, Jackson, Lacombe, defenseman, and Kirill Kaprizov's he's more than doubled or has doubled your salary. So
the Jets are paying Scheifele and Hellebuyck.
Yeah.
What the Minnesota Wild are playing Kirill Kaprizov. So there is some, listen, it is a bit of a big poker game between agents and general managers, and it's very clear that the agents right now are the ones that are holding pocket aces, and and they're playing those cards. You bring up Cole Perfetti, and he's a very low cap hit right now at $3.25 million. Now, there's a lot of money coming off the books next year. Although Kyle Connor's going to go, assuming that he signs an extension, from 7.1 to 12, 12.5 more. Would anything surprise you right now? And that next Cole Perfetti deal, assuming that it is a long one, is going to be way, way above what he's playing for right now. And you can have a little bit of Monday morning quarterback going, man, it sure would have been nice to get that one done on a long time. Listen, we're having some more issues with Dave, so we won't bring him back. Jessi Pierce is going to join us in just a couple of minutes. While we've got the time, we had a couple other ones from Connor Hellebuyck that we weren't able to squeeze in. So Remo, if you can, cue up number 9. Hellebuyck talked about, the rib out of place and going for a quick crank at the Cairo, coming back and feeling good. He also played in Minnesota, got into his first preseason action. Here's Hellebuyck on getting a little bit of game experience in the preseason for the first time.
Yeah, I think we just kind of put that one behind us and focus on a new year. New year, new me. And pretty good, getting some rust out, getting sick of practicing all the time and wanting to get some game action. And now it's kind of fallen into that season routine. We have another game Friday and, then prepping for game 1.
As a guy that likes to play all the time, is the gap between the last preseason game and the regular season too long?
Yeah, I think so. But, the training camp's hard, grueling. Yeah, you want some guys to heal up a little bit. So I completely understand the time being, and I think in the long run it helps. In the short term, you think I want to play and just let me play, but it's good.
What's on your checklist in the preseason? Like when you start getting through your, reading the play and things like that?
Yeah, it's more it's more figuring out what part of my game I want to focus on a little bit more. It changes from year to year, and I can't tell you that there's an exact science to one way or another every year, but right now I'm working on some patience and, looking at some tape that I finally now have and fine-tuning some details that I want to work on.
All right, there's Connor Hellebuyck, and this is a great question, whoever asked it, because the conversation with Scott O'Neill is how do you improve on what you guys did in the last season, not talking about the playoffs. Hellebuyck just won the Hart Trophy and a second consecutive Vezina. Here's Hellebuyck on what could possibly improve after the year that he put forth, the historic year that he had last season.
Yeah, I think we just kind of put that one behind us and focus on a new year. New year, new me, and no expectations. Come in and build the game just like I did last year and really focus on putting my best foot forward every single day. And it's a process. You're not going to come in and expect to be that same guy at the end of last year at day one. You never are. No one ever is. So I'm going to continue building my game and working on the process that I know works.
How do you feel about where the team is at as you get close to the start of the regular season?
I think we're looking good. I think we're pretty healthy, and I look forward to seeing how some chemistry keeps continuing to build and some guys continue to knock that rust off, and myself included. I'm excited.
All right, there is Connor Hellebuyck back at it. We're going to head out to the Twin Cities in a few minutes and welcome in our pal Jessi Pierce to find out whether maybe Kira was tipping the media at his press conference, making it rain in the press conference room after the bag that he secured from the Minnesota Wild. Hey, quickly on the home opener next week, did talk to our folks at the Jets. We were down to 4 tickets yesterday. There were actually 2 other pairs in our rows that were available. So we actually have 8 tickets remaining of our group of 44, 45 for the home opener. So if you haven't already and you want to join us in what should be a sold-out game with, fingers crossed, the return of Jonathan Toews after missing practice today, go to winnipegjets.com/WST. We got a pair. We got 2 pairs and a foursome that are there. So your ticket includes a beverage. We'll all get together when the doors open and get ready for the upcoming season. And it should be real fun in Section 316 again, after we did go 6-0 last year with our WST Games of the Month. But this is going to be a special one. We'll see that President's Trophy banner. We'll see that first ever Central Division banner for the Winnipeg Jets and get together once again with the Winnipeg Sports Talk crew. So don't wait. These are going to go. Just sold most of the ones that we had remaining in the last 2 days. But we've got 2 more pairs, so 8 tickets remaining. Get on them now. WinnipeGets.com/WST. Have to shout out our friends at Princess Auto. Of course, no bomber reports while the team is on the bye, but we'll get ready for a couple more big games at Princess Auto Stadium before the end of the season. Of course, Princess Auto is where you'll get the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them in store, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon. And of course, you can shop online 24/7, 365 on princessauto.com. Hey, tomorrow, our first Chuds Power Sports Power Poll is going to drop. We'll do NFL tomorrow. We'll have a preseason NHL Power Poll next week. And there'll be a Chuds Power Sports Power Poll on WST Sunday Live weekly with Connor and Liz. Can't wait to see what they cook up on that. Head on over to chudspowersports.com to check out everything Chuds has as the true power sports superstore up in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 321. And listen, not only do they have the best in bikes, tractors, golf carts, snowmobiles, boats, ice houses for you, ice fishing, Argo and Sasquatch, they can also take care of you as you get ready for the upcoming season. They've got incredible parts and service departments for all of your off-road vehicle repair needs with 3 techs on staff and over 31,000 active part numbers in stock. So for those of you that are getting ready to get those sleds out, you're fixing something, or you need a part to get back on the road or the water, Chud's Power Sports is the place to go for that. And the Derminator, our pals at Chud Sports, would love to take care of you. And I just got a note from the Derminator. He set up a WST account with discounts applied on all parts, accessories, and clothing. Just mention Winnipeg Sports Talk or WST to get the discounts when calling in or ordering online. The gang of Chuds can help you with any job, big or small. Chud's Power Sports. Check them out online and get in touch and let them know for a better deal that you're a WST listener at chudspowersports.com. Hey, just before we bring in Jessi Pierce, of course, while you're doing all that, I think Chuds actually has batteries from our pal Donnie in Manitoba Battery. And of course, in the city, when you need batteries for literally everything, as Donnie says, wake up Winnipeg, stop overpaying at the big box stores, shop local, get the best deals in town and the best service as well. When it comes to batteries for your car, your truck, as you're getting ready for the grind that is the Winnipeg winter, there's no better place to get it taken care of than your local option, Manitoba Battery. 2 locations in town, Logan Avenue, the new spot in the south side on Dovercourt Drive. And of course, they'll deliver those batteries to you as well. ManitobaBattery.com, or give them a phone call and pop by and see them in store for the best in batteries and the best price, bar none, in Winnipeg at Manitoba Battery. All right, let's welcome in our pal Jessi Pierce, who I saw had a great summer, kicking it on the golf course. Now it's back to work and a pretty darn big press conference for the Minnesota Wild earlier this week. How are you?
I'm good. I'm having internet issues, so I apologize in advance if I am looking and sounding a little off. It's not me, it's the internet, which we pay far too much for anyway. But I'm good. I enjoy the off-season. I off-season really, really well, but it's also nice to get back to some structure here at the rink. I can't wait.
Hey, are you guys having this crazy extra summer like we are right now?
Yeah, it's like 90 degrees out there. I'm over it. I'm ready for like fall. I already switched out my closet and everything, although I did pick up an extra shift at the golf course tomorrow because I imagine others like myself are trying to get a couple more rounds in before we get snow probably in 2 weeks. Let's be honest.
No doubt. Well, I mean, it is just insane here right now. I mean, I don't know what the conversion is, but it's 27 or 28, not the 27 or 28 that has snow with it, like in Fahrenheit, but absolutely gorgeous right now. But let's talk about it. I mean, take us through the last 10 days or so for the Wild and the fans and those of you covering the team. Because, I mean, I remember when we were on the show and we heard that the Wild offered 8 years at 16 per, and he said thanks, but no thanks. I mean, could not believe it. How did that go over? What were your conversations like then? And then we can take it to the deal getting done this week.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a few days before training camp started, before media would meet with Kirill for the first time. So, of course, we had a lot of questions, and yet there still seemed to be a lot of optimism. There still seemed to be happy faces. Kirill smiled and said, I like Minnie. He didn't say love, which was a telltale for all of us, or so we thought. We're like, oh, he's friend zoning the Wild. He doesn't want to be here. It became a very divisive fandom, right? You had a lot of people that were like, you know what, whatever. We don't need him. Just trade him. He doesn't like us. And, you know, they were very hurt. And then there were others that were very scared that Bill Guerin wasn't going to be able to get this mega superstar to stay here. You know, and I think when the initial reports came out that he had turned down that deal, a lot of it, at least in my head, I figured it was maybe more of a term situation. He didn't want to do 8 years. He was looking more at 5. You know, I kind of thought that was the route. So for Bill Guerin to lock it up and get the 8x17, $1 million more than they offered in that initial, is pretty crazy. So a roller coaster. It is a roller coaster here in Minnesota, but that's how Minnesota sports fans get treated anyway. They're not used to having nice things, so they get anxious and scared that they're going to lose all their favorite toys. But lucky for them, just this once, their favorite toy on the ice, Kirill Kaprizov, is sticking around for 8 more years. And now you have fans that are elated. You also have fans that are questioning that it's too much term, too much money. The team's still never going to win. They have Parisi Suter buyouts, PTSD. So there's still a lot of chaos I think, but ultimately for Kirill to have signed on that dotted line, I think left a lot of fans and of course Bill Guerin and the organization very happy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, from my perspective, Jessi, they got squeezed for an extra $8 million, but this is an agent and players market right now with the cap going up. I mean, the timing could not be better. And let's face it, I mean, the Minnesota Wild are a very, very different team and have a very different outlook without Kirill Kaprizov signed long-term in the Twin Cities.
He is everything. They are not the same team. Not only do you not have this elite talent on the ice, which you saw last year as he missed 41 games, but you don't have guys that want to come play for a team that doesn't have a superstar like that, right? Like, yes, you have very good secondary pieces. I think Matt Boldy's going to have a huge year. I think Jules Eriksson, but you don't have the name to draw others in. And I think that's exactly what Kirill does. And Kirill saying he wants to be here for 8 more years, that's a stamp of approval and belief in the Minnesota Wild and the direction that they're heading. For him to say, yep, I could have tested free agency and he would have been a very happy person to resign or to sign elsewhere on free agency. For him to say, nope, I'm going to lock it down here. I think says a lot about where this team is heading in the next few seasons.
I mean, it seems like the story around the entire Wild has been this. But what has camp been like, and what are the expectations for the Wild now that they've got their superstar healthy and locked in to be a member of this team for the next 9 years?
Yeah, I mean, you wish you could say the entire team is starting healthy. Matt Zuccarello out for the first 2 months. That's going to be a big hit. However, it opens up the door for some of these young guys. Liam Ogren, who we've seen glimpses of in the NHL. I think he's primed to take that opportunity on the wing. You've got a guy like Hunter Haight, who did really well in Iowa last year, was a high round draft pick for the Wild, a prospect. He's having a really nice camp. And then you have Danila Yurov, who is set to play center, played center for the past 2 seasons over in the KHL. He's finally over here in the States, in Minnesota. They're trying him in different spots on the wing and up the middle. So you have these young guys that are finally going to see a little bit more ice time. They are finally ready to rock and roll. Plus Zeev Buium on the back end. He's going to be eating up big minutes in that top 4 defensive pairing alongside Jared Spurgeon, which I think is going to be a great second pair. So you have a lot of those young guys in place. And then you have, as I mentioned, Matt Boldy. I am expecting a monster year. I think this is the year that Boldy hits 50 goals. I think this is the year that he finds that consistency that has kind of been plaguing him his entire career. So I think if the Wild can start like they did last year, which again, given all the pieces are in place, minus Matt Zuccarello, they are looking at a top 3 position in the Central, which is already, as you guys know, a very difficult division. But I think the Wild do. If Philip Gustafsson also can perform like he did last year, there's no reason they can't be in that top echelon.
Yeah, I mean, the issue for teams like the Wild is that it's a tough neighborhood. Probably the toughest neighborhood in the National Hockey League. I mean, you know, the Jets won the President's Trophy, barely won the division. I mean, you've got Dallas and you've got Colorado that aren't taking a step back. And then teams like St. Louis that feel like they're ready to go. And then, of course, Utah. I mean, we're not even talking about, obviously, the Chicago Blackhawks. Utah, I guess there's a lot of people that are high on them. I'm sort of kind of in a wait and see mode. But I mean, there were 5 teams from the Central in the playoffs last year, and considering the expectations, what these teams are capable of and what the offseason has brought, hard not to imagine the high likelihood of both wildcard teams also coming from this division.
Oh, absolutely. And it's our plight. It feels like every single year, right? Like that's just kind of the lot you're dealt with. I think the West in general is a stronger conference than the East, which people might think I'm crazy, but I do. I look at the teams, I see these teams night in and night out. I'm like, how are you going to argue that? The West is always, it's tough. It's wild. It comes down to the final regular season games more often than not in order to see who gets that final wild card, who gets that final spot into the playoffs. But that's what makes it fun, right? I would rather play a really good Winnipeg team, a really good Colorado team, Dallas team every night than kind of just bombard and destroy a weak conference or division. So I enjoy the good hockey of it all. And that's what we get to experience in the Central, even if it comes with a little bit of angst and panic once in a while too.
You mentioned Zeev Buium. He, of course, was a first rounder a couple years ago, turned pro at the end of last season. what's his camp been like? And we're getting ready for doing NHL futures and bets and stuff. I mean, Demidov's the favorite for the Calder Trophy. He's the next guy on that list. Sounds like he's going to be given a lot of load right out of the gate for a guy of his age and lack of experience, but incredible talent.
All he does is win. He's won national championships. He's won back-to-back World Juniors gold medals, right? Like, he is a kid that comes in and just plays the right way. He added 15 pounds coming into camp, which was huge, quite literally, right? He needed to add that little bit of weight, bulk up to be NHL ready. And he has that little bit of experience in the NHL last year. It was a tough scene. His debut was in Vegas during the playoffs, and it was a great series. And so for him to kind of come and find his footing there, I think gave him that little bit of jolt of confidence. He's very similar to Brock Faber in the way that his career path has gone. And he's going to be given a large workload. He's looking at being on the top power play unit. He's looking at getting some special teams actions in. And again, being paired with Jared Spurgeon, I love, because Spurgeon obviously has that poise, that veteran presence. Zeev can be a little bit more offensive then, because Spurge will be able to cover up on the back end and also help out with any mistakes that the young pup might make. So I've seen in redrafts, they have Zeev Buium then being taken number 2 overall versus where he fell for the Minnesota Wild. So I don't think it's an overrated talent by any stretch, because he just looks like it fits. It's just been a seamless fit for Zeev, which is exactly what the Wild were hoping for.
We were just talking with Dave Pagnotta from the fourth period, and we were talking about these crazy contracts and the one that Lacombe just signed at Anaheim. And we got back to the Wild, and he said now they're going to move on, and obviously with Philip Gustafsson. But the thing with Gus is the fact that they've got a younger goaltender in Wallstedt that they are incredibly high on. How do you see the split going this year? And because of a really talented young goalie in the mix, how much pressure is on Gus to really establish himself as not only a guy that can play regularly, but, being a top echelon goaltender worthy of a big long-term extension to stay with the team?
Ironically, I was just chatting with Philip Gustafsson before I hopped on here for our podcast episode next week. The good thing about Gus and Jesper Wallstedt, they had that relationship predetermined because they're, both Swedish goaltenders. They kind of know the same type of people, but they also push each other. They both have the same competitors mentality where it's like, yes, we're going to help each other, but we're also going to compete for that number 1 spot. Jesper wants it. Gus wants it. And I think it's Gus's spot to lose for sure. I think you're looking at him taking the lion's share, as he should. Coming off of last season, you want to make sure that he can have that consistency. And I do think he's grown and matured to be able to do so. He's come into camp in shape again. He's locked in, and he reminded me too that the biggest takeaway he learned from Marc-Andre Fleury was, I also need to have some fun too. I also need to make sure that I'm not so overstressed and so overhyped. And I think that's maybe a little bit what happened with Jesper Wallstedt last year. It was a really tough go for Wallstedt down in Iowa, and a year that he just couldn't recover from, really. It was just a bad stretch of games that turned into a bad month of games and so on. So he's looking to redeem himself, right? And I think he's coming into camp. He's told us he doesn't want to talk about last year. He's refocused and looking at it. So I think, again, the tandem, it's Gus's net until it can't be anymore. And I think that's the right way to play it. On the contract extension too, obviously Gus is going to look to get paid a little bit more. It's finally his first big time role, and goalies, as we've seen now, are making a pretty penny, whether you're very good or kind of even questionable. So it's going to be a huge year for Gus. I am hopeful that he can replicate what was done last year. I saw the NHL Network ranked him in the top 10, which I think is probably very appropriate. And I could see him moving up to the top 5 at some point. And then Jesper, I think, is going to be waiting, but he's going to be learning from Gus at the same time. And I think you'll see him in some big games as well, but I do think it'll be 70-30 Gus to Jesper.
Well, I mean, yeah, you played 58 games last year at a .914 save percentage, 256 goals against, 131 games. Probably seeing at some of these deals that are signed right now and wish that the time was now to get a new deal. But good thing is that the cap's only going up. It's just you want to have another season like he had last year when you're stepping up to it. Hey, while I've got you here, how are the one thing, I mean, listen, hockey fan, this is a great rivalry between two teams. Wild hate the Jets, Jets hate the Wild, but there's a ton of Viking fans here. What's the vibe around the Vikes right now as they finish their little European vacation after the loss last week to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
It's It's tough. It's tough sledding here in Vikings country. It usually is, but everybody's so high on JJ McCarthy, right? Plus he's a hockey guy, which we love. We're like, cool, we're bringing this young buck in. You got Justin Jefferson to throw to. It's going to be fantastic. Well, apparently you have an offensive line that can't stop anybody. So now poor JJ McCarthy gets hurt. You're stuck with Carson Wentz, who is okay at best. And injuries are definitely eating the Vikings alive. It has not been fun football to watch. Again, the offensive line, in my opinion, is just awful. I can't do it. But they're hurt. So October is going to be a tough month. I'm just hoping to get out of October because the schedule isn't doing the Vikings any favors either. There's not been a lot of skull. I have my skull tattoo as well that I got this year, and it pains me a little bit. We might have to get that covered up. We'll see how.
Hey, you know what? No, have faith. I think I'm high on JJ as well. They do get the Cleveland Browns this week, who have a great defense, but they're starting a rookie quarterback. They got to start a new winning streak over in Europe with this game, come back at 3-2, and then take it from there. Fill everyone in on what's up with the Beauties, the pod, and I'm sure you guys are ready to rock for another season.
We are rocking and rolling full gear, new episodes each and every week. As I mentioned, we pre-recorded with Philip Gustafson. That episode will drop next week. We learned a whole lot of stuff. Like, for instance, I didn't know IKEA has food in it. I don't know if you guys have IKEA up there, if that's a thing or not, but it's a Swedish furniture company, right? And
yeah, don't they have meatballs there?
Yes, that's what he was talking about. He eats 13, not 14, because 14 is too much. He eats 13 meatballs before every game that he gets from IKEA because they're like the prepackaged one. Yeah, fun fact. See, you're going to want to tune in to next week's episode for those hard-hitting questions with Philip Gustafson. Catch us on YouTube and wherever you listen to your pods, as always.
Remis has got it up right there for you folks that are YouTube. We'll throw the link in the chat and make sure to give Jess a follow at the Bardown Beauties. Here's to a great season. Some fun games between our two teams. I know we'll be talking with you as well very soon. Enjoy that one more day at the golf course. And we'll look forward to talking to you once the puck gets dropped next week, Jess.
I'll try. Good talking to you.
Thanks so much. Jessi Pierce in the Twin Cities, talking wild, Kaprizov deal in the upcoming year with, I think, still the Jets' biggest rival. Based on the preseason game with Trennan, running our pal Vlad into the boards. Great to see Vladdy back out today. Listen, Ken Wiebe's going to join us in just a couple minutes. Let me get to some fan feedback. I was asking you about, how are we feeling about this Samberg deal and the term now after seeing some of the money thrown out to some of the other defensemen around the year. I see. Where was Nick? Here's what's up, Nick. Great to see him back in the chat. My thoughts on Samberg. Pro, incredible value deal over the 3 years, and the Jets may be somewhere else competitively by the end. Cons, you open windows by making big bets during the escalating cap. Kevin Case is a flat-out miss, not getting Samberg long-term. And Strasafi, Samberg can be a Forsling type. And Phyllis said Samberg should have gotten the full 8-year deal. He's shown he's trustworthy with high ice time, and I think Chevy missed the boat on doing that short-term deal. Are you giving Dylan Samberg, a 20-point player, $9 million for 8 years? I mean, at a certain point, I thought Samberg did really well to get the Slavin money. I was shocked that the ask was way in excess of the best guy that does what Dylan Samberg does in the year, who's got an extension that's kicking in this season. It was just signed. So I certainly see both sides, but I do understand why people might be looking at some of these deals going, oh my God, what's it going to cost in 3 years when they've got to revisit this with Dylan Samberg. Keep your thoughts coming. Fan feedback, as always, brought to you by fansfirst.ca, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. Winnipeg Jets all season long. No added fees. What you see is what you pay. And, of course, the Bombers also available on Fans First, which has been great this year because they sell out every damn game over at Princess Auto. Check out the site today, fansfirst.ca. By fans, for fans, no fees. All right, we've got the Wiebe coming up right now. Let's get right to it and welcome in Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press. Of course, Ken was down at the skate today as the Jets get ready for one final preseason game and next Thursday's home opener. Wiebe, what's good, buddy? How are you?
Good afternoon, Huss. Great, all over here. Enjoying some baseball playoffs. And
oh my God, how good has the last 2 days been?
Yeah, pretty fun. I just like to have a little bit extra time in front of the TV, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. As many Jays fans were hoping, the Red Sox and Yankees beating themselves over the head here in this epic wild card series.
And go 18 innings tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Garrett Crochet go with the career high 117 pitches, and I think most Jays fans are thankful that he may only be available for game 2, I'm guessing. I don't think, yeah, I mean, it's going to be an adventure, that's for sure. And Huss, happy to report that I do have a ticket for game 2, and we're working on game 1 here on this weekend in the T-Dot.
Do you have a flight already?
Yeah, I booked a refundable flight a few weeks ago with anticipation of hoping that it all worked out.
This is a veteran traveler right here. You've got
last preseason game for the Jets Friday. Saturday off for sure. Sunday potentially off. Do we know this is normally a team bonding weekend for them? So I have planned accordingly, and we'll be back for Monday's practice.
I love it. I love it. Wiebe, just quickly before we get to today's activities down at the rink, is the reason why you haven't had enough time to watch the baseball playoffs the last day because you have extended the Manitoba Golf Tour? This is nuts right now. Packed golf courses at the beginning of October.
It is wild. Was fortunate enough to sneak in a couple of rounds with our St. Malo folks celebrating one Jacques Lafrenais's 50th here. So had a Pinawa Granite Hills doubleheader. But
I saw Jake at the Bomber game, and he said he was heading up there. Nice.
Yes, it was an enjoyable few days. Let's put it that way. Yes.
Love it. Listen, let's get right to it. Jonathan Toews. Everyone was nervous after. I mean, not a lot of people saw the game because it was on, on the website, not on television. And then, okay, great. He's listed on the practice rosters, and then he wasn't out of practice today.
Right.
We heard the quote from Scott Arniel. I mean, I know you're kind of twisting arms and whatnot. What have you learned about Jonathan Toews, and how optimistic should Jet fans be that he will be in that lineup a week from today?
Yeah, I would say it would be on the positive ledger of optimistic, Huss. Yeah, I mean, we were all wondering, we saw the rosters come out. You're wondering, is that a good sign? Is that, because I think previously injured players were not listed on the practice rosters, but I don't think this was any type of tomfoolery on behalf of the Jets or anything. I think it was, Jonathan was going to see how he felt in the morning. He got treatment today. Huss, out of the corner of our eye, we saw him walking with his backpack to a team sanctioned or a league meeting today. So that's all we have. We know Jonathan is walking. And we know that from what Scott Arniel has said, it would fall under the day-to-day. Now, I understand the skeptical folks that are saying, well, sometimes day-to-day is really week-to-week and all of those things. But I would just put it this way. The level of concern from Scott Arniel on Saturday after Dylan Samberg left the game versus the posture and tone of Scott Arniel, A, on the CJOB postgame, and B, today with members of the media, was much different. So I would say it's more on the day-to-day side of things. And I mean, again, the Jets have a full week of practice until they play their opener. Barring some sort of setback, I would expect that this is a minor lower body issue. Huss, this is very common. And I know some folks are saying, it's because he's 37 and he's been off for 2 years. Huss, the most finely tuned athletes often leave practices and or exhibition games normally with a groin injury or soft tissue or something of that nature. So, I mean, to your point about, I'm watching that game on a computer screen versus being in the building, but what we know, there were no tangible signs of an obvious, like hobbling off the ice scenario. Now, again, it's different than being in person. I get it. But I don't, again, walking versus walking boot or anything like that. I would say it would be on the minor side. And I would be surprised if he's not ready for the opener. We know how hard he's been working to get ready. We know how fit he is. I think this is probably just a thing where you got to be off the ice for a couple days. I don't expect him to play. We know Jonathan wanted to play in the last preseason game because there was a week off between games, but I would expect him still to be ready for game 1 here.
In his absence,
Yep.
Interesting to see today that Parker Ford was with the guys that we sort of assume will be the fourth line, and the Gus Bus, the original Gus Bus. I guess we have 2 now. With the with some of the guys that would be more extras. What's been your observations on Parker Ford, and how much has he done for his stock in the eyes of the coaching staff, do you think, over the course of the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, I would even just say, Huss, it kind of rewinds almost to, last February, March, when he made his debut and scored in Boston, hour away from his home city, a team he grew up against. And the only thing that prevented Parker Ford from not playing more than 3 games last year, Huss, was the fact he got injured with the Moose very shortly after he was sent back down after that, first NHL action. So, one thing we know, we've heard Scott O'Neill, and dating back to Rick Bowness, they place a pretty high value on faceoffs when it comes down to the 4C job. And Parker Ford's been doing an exceptional job on that front. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Scott O'Neill cited, I think, 8-1 for Parker Ford on Tuesday in Minnesota or in St. Paul. So I would say that's part of it, Huss. And I also think the other part of it is that when Tanner Pearson is on that fourth line, they're looking for a little bit more speed down the middle. We know that Cole Koepke brings a lot of speed, and he looked really good on Tuesday, probably his best of the exhibition action so far. I think Ford has a slight advantage in the foot speed department over Gustafsson, even though Gustafsson's worked incredibly hard on that part of his game over the last 3-4 years here. But he's a little bit more of a physical player, Parker Ford. He gets involved physically. He's good on the forecheck. And again, Gustafsson does a lot of things, and you know how I feel about him as a player and as a person. But right now, I think they're opting for a little bit more speed on that front. But again, this is something where might be more related to how the exhibition's going to go. And like I said, I don't, Jonathan may wake up tomorrow and say, I'm ready to go, I'm in the game, but I don't expect him to be playing. So I think this is more just a matter of, we know that when Toews is not available, if that's the case at any point this year, Nemestikov would be the first guy to go up. And we know that Morgan Barron has filled in for Adam Lowry before. And if Nemestikov goes up, Barron can go from the fourth line to the third line with a pretty smooth transition, giving that line a different look. But we're seeing it. Parker Ford is effective. He was effective in his game against Calgary the other day. A really nice goal, burying the pass from Jared Anderson-Dolan on the back door. He had one of those chances earlier on in the preseason where he missed the backdoor tap, but that's a good sign for him. But he's a high energy guy, a high motor guy, and we know the Jets have been talking so much about compete during this training camp. Being harder to play against, Parker Ford could help the Jets be that. So we've seen some of the similarities from Walker Duehr's game at times when he's going. He can be a physical force. He can get in on the forecheck. He can skate also. But yeah, right now Parker Ford appears to have the leg up in the battle for the 13th forward position. But, I don't think it means that Gustafsson is out of the race by any stretch of the imagination. But it was something that, people took notice of this morning when we got to the rink and saw the first few line rushes.
Let me ask you this. Just while we're talking about that, the fourth line and that 13th forward. Tanner Pearson, has he earned that spot, or is he sort of there because he's a veteran and, you start there? And I guess my question to you is he going to be a regular this year, or is he being pressed now by some younger players that might be able to come in and certainly add more speed to that lineup? Just thoughts on his fit right now and what it'll take for him to be a regular and not get passed by some of these guys that are challenging right now.
Yeah, we've been talking about this at the rink today too. And Tanner Pearson is a guy that, has he jumped off the page during the exhibition games? Not necessarily, but Huss, what you notice on the day-to-day when you're at practice and on the daily, he's a guy who's incredibly big and strong. He gets to the net. He's very sound defensively. He's a smart guy. He can kill penalties. We've referenced his heavy shot multiple times ever since the captain skates. again, I'm not saying he's in cruise control mode by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that once the games get going, you're going to see him be a little bit more impactful. In terms of your other question about where he slots in, how, he's going to have to play well. I mean, he is getting pushed, that's for sure, Huss. I agree with you there. But I do think that he is, based on his experience and his Stanley Cup winning pedigree, I think this is a guy the Jets want to have around the team. I think he's going to be in the lineup regularly. I mean, I don't know if that means 75 games or 55 games at this stage of the game, but I do think that Tanner Pearson's going to be someone that does do a little bit better job of catching your attention as the games get rolling into the regular season here. Now, again, for a team that plays fast and wants to play with pace, now he's going to have to be pushed on that front as well. But he's also a guy who brings a lot of smarts to the table, hockey sense, really good defense. He's a very conscientious defensive player. And he's a guy who's, even last year, Huss said it was a 12-goal guy. So if you're a fourth line player and you're producing double digits in goals, that's something we've seen from the Jets' fourth line as they've moved along here. But again, some of that's going to be related to injury and, when Lowry's back and if they're healthy from there. But yeah, I do see him being more than just a part-time player. But as you mentioned, I mean, whether we're talking about Nikita Chibrikov or Walker Dewar or even Jared Anderson-Dolan, I mean, these guys all bring a little bit of a different element to the equation. It'll be a matter of how Pearson fits in, how he picks up the system, and if he can still be productive. And I in speaking with Tanner Pearson early on in training camp, Huss, I get the sense that he knows exactly what he's up against. He knows that, last year that you're north of 30, you had to take a PTO, but you were on a Stanley Cup contender. He came to a Stanley Cup contender now. He knows that nothing is guaranteed for him, but he also knows and believes that he can bring something to the table that brings value to a team like the Jets that is battling and wanting to be a legit Stanley Cup contender. So, I think that he understands where he fits in. And in order to keep that job, he's going to have to deliver some strong performances at both ends of the rink.
Ken, just talking about this, and especially with Ford, and I mean, if Gustafson's on the outside looking in, he's a guy that we're both big fans of, and I think that can play. And, if he's the 13th forward, okay, putting him on waivers, we've been talking a lot about defensemen going on waivers. A guy like David Gustafson that I had always thought would be on the team to start off with, if he's on the outside looking in, potentially exposing him, I think, could be somewhat problematic for the club. With the Samberg injury, knowing that 7 of the 8, is it more likely that they might go 14-7 now based on the current situation than before? Do you think it'll be 13 and they'll just keep all the defensemen? And, if it comes down to a Heinola or a Stanley or whoever from the blue line being exposed, they would be more likely to put a player that they've also put a lot into and a second-round pick like Gustafson on the wire?
Yeah, so I would put it this way. I mean, I don't think the Jets are going to have Parker Ford as the 13th forward. I think it's much more likely that Gustafson would fill that role. The more likely way of Parker Ford being on the team is if one of those centermen has to be on IR to start the year. But again, I don't think we're in that situation yet either. I mean, are the Jets open to exposing David Gustafson to waivers? I mean, that's your question. And I don't know the answer to that, Huss. I mean, I right now, I don't know that answer. I don't think they're going to be leaning towards 14-7 just based on the fact that Samberg is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. I just see it's much more likely they would expose a forward to waivers than a defenseman based on the depth in the organization and also the depth, with guys knocking on the door and being ready. Quite frankly, they don't know how it's going to work out in terms of the, who's going to work well with Pionk. We know today it was Logan Stanley's turn. We know Hayden Fleury has played that role before. So I think that on the back end, things are set. With Cale Clegg clearing waivers today, I think the Jets are thankful for that. It means Clegg is going to be able to go down to the minors and play with Elias Solomonson, and he would be available if they need another left shot defenseman. Anderson Dolan and Samuel Fagemo also cleared waivers, which I think the Jets would be thrilled about as well. So, I don't think, there were no Jets on waivers today, Huss, for those who didn't see it just after 1:00. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out with Gustafson. But I would just put it this way. The only way that Parker Ford, to me, I'm not saying he can't be the 13th forward, but as a guy who is waivers exempt just for this one more season, Huss, I think it's much more likely we would see Gustafsson on the opening day roster than Parker Ford. But again, that's not set in stone. That's my personal opinion, just based on how they feel about depth and where things are at. But if Parker Ford could be in the opening day lineup, I think that maybe that changes the equation a little bit too, as well, in terms of what the thinking is there. But I know he's not an older player, but he's a guy who came out of college, so he's got a little bit more. He's still young in terms of experience, but he's a guy that definitely is in the Jets' plans moving forward. But again, I don't think the Jets are turning their back on Gustafsson, and I don't think he's necessarily on the outside looking in, even though today Parker Ford was rolling at 4C. I think that's more, maybe be matchup related for the game in Calgary, or, the fact he's a right-handed shot center and they wanted to test something else out here today, Huss. But that also, too, that's a reminder that Parker Ford is having a very solid training camp as well, and he's definitely under consideration moving forward.
Ken Wiebes with us from the Winnipeg Free Press. Weber, let me ask you this. Let's get the Wiebe-meter out. You've been following the team through the entire... Remo, if you could mute Scooch, would be great. You've been at every skate. You've been at all the preseason games.
Well, not the road games.
Yes, still, but you've been watching. Listen, you're our eye on the team. The Wiebe-meter comes out. Who has had the best camp? And on the other end of it, who has maybe not shown as much as you would have expected?
Yeah, honestly, Hassan, I'm not trying to duck the question here. I just don't. The day-to-day until the second week of camp to me is not as important as it is to the casual. I understand hardcore fans want to know what happens day in and day out and how that improves someone's chances. I think this is the really important week, whether it started on Monday with practices, but I don't think that the Jets have had anybody that has been lackluster or Huss. Everyone knows the standard here. I don't think anyone came in lagging, is in terrible shape, and is in danger of losing their job. And I also don't think that anyone has really come out of a rocket ship and stolen a job. As I wrote in the Free Press today, Huss, I think that in terms of prospects who boosted their stock the most at this camp, I cannot imagine someone has boosted their stock more than Colby Barlow, even though he was reassigned to the Manitoba Moose. Huss, if you're looking 12 months ago to today, he's skating so much better. He was way more involved. Last year, we understand things happen and whatever else and different types of development curves and everything else. But Colby didn't have a good camp last year. Quite frankly, he did not show well at training camp. His skating was not at a level that it needed to be at. And you can tell he put in the work in the summertime, and he heeded the advice last fall, and he heeded the advice going into, after development camp and throughout his summer. He openly talked about changing his body, getting leaner. He's skating better. He's one of the guys who has one of the best shots in the organization in terms of the prospects that are coming up. And Braden Yager also has a great shot. But to me, Colby Barlow has had the most impactful camp in terms of showing, a 12-month improvement. Also, Danny Zhilkin I would include in that category. I just think that Barlow is a little bit more of a top-rated prospect than Zhilkin. But Zhilkin went from kind of just being another guy in the organization to having a strong prospect showdown in Montreal. He had a very good training camp. He had a very strong showing in the exhibition games. I think he's poised to have his best season as a member of the Manitoba Moose. I would say those two guys really popped off the page up front. On the back end, we've talked a lot about Elias Solomonson, and yes, it is unfortunate that he did not have an opportunity to play in that third preseason game because he got sick on the morning of that game. But there's just a little bit more work that needs to be done for him, and I understand that folks are arguing, well, try him in the top four. I just think that right now at this stage of his career, and Huss, we've been talking about this since the summertime, this isn't Elias Solomonson is down for good for this year, but the benefit of him going down and playing 20 to 22 minutes a game, being exposed to all different situations, I think that we will see Elias Solomonson and Huss maybe even potentially before the Dylan Samberg return happens in that 6 to 8 week window. But I'm totally on board with him being assigned to play and gain confidence and get a ton of puck touches with the Moose at the start of this year. I'm not saying this is a Kyle Connor situation of way back when he played the 4 games and Matthew Perreault got hurt and suddenly he was on the top line and never looked back. But what I am saying is that, you might see Elias Solomonson by November, or at the start of November, depending on how things shake down and how that Pionk and whoever pairing is working. And then maybe they're going to think about Colin Miller or Neil Pionk or Dylan DeMello or Luke Shen on the left side. And then you see what Elias looks like on the third pair. But I know there's been a big uproar on socials, and you see it, I see it in my inbox. Elias Solomonson is not ready to play in the second pairing for the Winnipeg Jets on October 2nd of 2025. But that's not to say that he's not going to make his debut at some point before the calendar flips. That's sort of how I see this. But he had a fairly strong camp, but I've said this before on the show and in other places. Elias' second preseason game was not as good as his first, and that's not the reason he was sent down either. It's just a reminder that in a game with only 7 NHLers on the opponent, it wasn't domination station for him, and you don't expect it to be. So this is not a referendum on readiness for Elias Solomonson. I think there is going to be time for him to be in this lineup this year. I fully expect him to make his debut, and if there's a possibility he could get double digits in games, depending on how things shake down, how the injury front goes. But not having him on the roster is not some colossal blunder by Kevin Cheveldayoff and company right now. But now it's up for the players that are ahead of him on the depth chart to show that that's the case. And it's up to Solomonson to dominate at the American League level and give the Jets no choice but to recall him at some point here in the next weeks or months or whatever the time frame is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the conversation about even the possibility of him sticking around would have been different if it was one of the guys on the right side that had gotten hurt.
Sure.
But I mean, the thought of, let's bring this guy in, put him on the offside playing top 4 minutes. I mean, listen, young players, you want to put them in spots to succeed. And listen, there's certainly maybe being extra cautious or letting them over ripen, whatever the term you want to make is. But I think it's pretty clear what the task at hand for him to do is. And that's turn heads, play a ton of minutes, be at an elite level in the American Hockey League, and force the hand at some point when that opportunity comes, or just be so damn good that it's time to give him a chance and see what happens, and then work the other pieces around. Wiebe, great stuff as always. I am looking forward to getting after it with you next week when we're actually on the road. You guys haven't been doing any preseason K&Rs?
We're planning on a tee up on Monday. It's tentatively scheduled, but I'm going to throw it out there to all of your listeners because we know there's a lot of the cross section flowing here. But we're planning on a Monday coming out of the tail end of your show, kind of 3:00 season preview idea, and then we'll be going full blast from Thursday and on. Looking forward to it.
It's about time. I mean, it's as if there's been
nothing
going
no
on
problem
for a bit. Come on, guys, let's get going. Well, again, there's been lots of golf to take place. There's baseball games this weekend. We're getting to work.
Lots
next
of good
week,
stuff.
Wiebe.
Yeah, don't worry.
It.
I'm ready. The work boots will be on, ready to roll here. It's going to be an excellent and fun season to be documenting and chronicling all kinds of historical films and such.
Well, have a great time at the ball games on the weekend. I know you'll find a way to do both of them. So
yes,
I'll
sir.
be looking forward to some texts and some great stuff on the socials. Let's just hope you're seeing a couple big wins for the Jays. Have a great one, Wiebe. Thanks for doing this.
You bet, Huss. Have a great weekend as well, my friend. Thanks for having me.
All right, Patty Gregoire is going to join us a little later on, but our man Joe Pascucci's coming up. Really looking forward to talking to Scooch. Of course, Bombers off this week. Edmonton next week. 3 games left in the regular season, and we've got a wild landscape of the CFL coming right down to the finish of the 18th game of the year. Before we bring in Scooch, this is a great day. If you can get out of work early and go straight to your local Boston Pizza, I would recommend it. We are now just underway with the Tigers and Guardians. Then it'll be the Cubs and Padres. And then it's the Yankees and Red Sox. And, of course, we've got a big NFL game tonight with the Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. All NFL season long and NHL season long. Boston Pizza is the place to watch the NFL and the Winnipeg Jets with great prizes for all the primetime games. And of course, as the Blue Jays get ready for their roll and ride to hopefully the World Series, Boston Pizzas will be rocking around the province with every minute of Blue Jays action as well. Pop on down to BP tonight for those ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and the great taste of BP with your gang. And if you're staying at home to watch it all, order online and getting hot and fresh to your door by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Speaking of everything going on, you want to get ready for Jets season, new jersey, hoodie, hat, you name it, Royal Sports has it. You need some Jays gear for the playoffs, Royal Sports is the spot for that. You're finally comfortable with your NFL team and you need to gear up for that. Royal Sports, of course, has it all. The biggest and best sports superstore anywhere is at 750 Pembina Highway, ready to drop the puck on another year. And of course, another year of hockey as the hockey superstore in town with everything you could possibly need to get back on the ice, from skates to full equipment, goalie gear, sticks, pucks, tape, you name it. Royal Sports has it all. 750 Pembina Highway. Make sure to follow them along on Instagram as well for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Just before we bring in Joe Pascucci, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's welcome in our pal, longtime global sports director in Winnipeg, Joe Pascucci, the resident historian, if you will, of Manitoba sports. Scooch, what's going on? How are you?
I am doing great. Great weather here in southern Ontario, and I hear there's great weather out there in Winnipeg.
Dude, it is crazy. I mean, we've had highs of like 27 for the last few days. It is glorious outside right now. And I'll tell you what, I mean, it's great, but I'll tell you what, if you're a sports fan right now, it's kind of hard to spend too much outside with everything going on. This baseball's been so good the last few days. We've got football tonight, and of course, hockey just around the corner. But want to talk to you about the Bombers and, of course, the Canadian Football League. Listen, we'll save the news from last week in a minute with Stuart Johnson and the future of the league, because I want to get your takes on all of that. But how about that performance from the Bombers on the weekend? A 40-3 drubbing of the Ticats. Zach Collaros looked as good as new. And the rest of this team really seems to be coming around at exactly the most important time of the year. Are you buying Bomber stock right now, Scooch?
You know what? Yes, I am, actually. I am buying. As long as Zach is back,
yes,
I'm buying it. But, you know, what really impressed me in the last few weeks has been the play of the defense. Because earlier this season, I thought the defensive backs were just getting burned constantly. But now that seems to become one of the strengths of the football team. Of course, I'd like to see a more diligent pass rush, maybe a few more blitzes than they do. But I think that the defensive performance the last few weeks has steadily improved game by game. And then, of course, we saw what the offense can do when Zach Collaros is now back. And, you put that combination together with the rest of the teams in the CFL, not all of them, but Saskatchewan, even going back to Labor Day and the Banjo Bowl, I mean, they didn't really dominate the Blue Bombers. And, not in my view. I thought those games were both winnable by Winnipeg.
Well, I thought the defense played well enough to win both of those games and that game in Hamilton, to be honest.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think all the signs are really positive right now for the Blue Bombers. But, of course, offensively, they look like a completely different team when, Zach Collaros is not there behind center.
Well, the funny thing is, Joe, and again, we've all watched and followed this league for a long time. I mean, I think we're in for one of the most exciting final months of the regular season we've had in ages in the CFL. I mean, with the exception of Saskatchewan, despite their last two losses having a bit of a leg up on everyone else for first in the West, where teams finish, who's getting the crossover, even who wins the East is totally up in the air. And I think it's going to go right down to the 18th game.
Yeah, this is probably the closest as a whole the CFL has been in 10, 15 years. I mean, they're really earlier in the season, Saskatchewan, yes, Hamilton, yes, as the dominant teams, but that's not the case right now. I mean, I think Montreal looks to be a very dominant team now that they got their number one quarterback back. The Bombers, they've elevated their play. BC, of course, has looked good. Hamilton, I think, has taken a step back, and I think Saskatchewan has taken a step back. Calgary, certainly, they don't look like the same team they did than they looked like at the beginning of the season. And even Edmonton, I mean, they look like a really tough team now compared to what they were at the start of the season. And had Cody Fajardo been playing at the start of the season, they'd be battling the Bombers, the BC Lions, and the Calgary Stampeders for a playoff spot.
Yeah, and that's going to make for a very intriguing game next week with the Bombers trying to keep it rolling, coming out of last week's domination of Hamilton, and the Elks playing for just to keep their season alive. So certainly it's good. We've got a week off for the Bombers and Elks. Big game between Calgary and BC amongst the games this weekend in the Canadian Football League. But I absolutely wanted to have you on in the aftermath of last week to get your take and perspective on what we heard from Stuart Johnson. And you know, I found it funny, and this is perfect because you're in the Southern Ontario market right now, but you spent so much time here. We know how things are going in Winnipeg. We know what things are like in Saskatchewan. And it seems like, I mean, from my perspective, the reaction to this is a little different here on the prairies than it is everywhere else of the other 7 teams that aren't turning a profit right now. What did you think of what Stuart Johnson said, and where are you at on how the Canadian Football League is scheduled to change over the next 2 seasons?
Well, thank you for inviting me on. I do feel I've been invited to the party last because everybody's been able to weigh in on this. Let's start with what I thought was good. Yes, that 35-second game clock, that's great. I think that's going to move the game along, but not for the final 3 minutes. And taking away the single point on a field goal, if the ball is wide and goes through the end zone untouched, I'm also in favor of that rule because 20 years ago, I presented that exact same rule to the CFL Rules Committee. And that was my point, that potentially a Grey Cup could be won on a missed field goal. And I'll go back to the 1989 Grey Cup, the one between Saskatchewan and Hamilton. Dave Ridgway didn't need to make his last field goal. You know, he makes it, Saskatchewan wins 43-40. But had he missed, the ball went through the end zone in the air untouched. So my point to the members of the Rules Committee was that had Ridgway missed, the rule would have been changed the next day because the most exciting Grey Cup game would have been won on a missed field goal, and the rule would have been changed the next day. So I'm just saying, change it, modify it so that you don't get embarrassed. And I only had Danny Barrett who kind of saw my point, but the person in the Rules Committee that was really being difficult and challenging, and I'm going to say a bit of a dick, if I can say that on your show, was Wally Buono. He was really on my case about this, you know, and about, well, don't you know that if a field goes wide, it becomes a punt, right?
Well, do you want someone punting through the end zone to win a Grey Cup, Wally?
1939, the Blue Bombers won the Grey Cup on a punt through the back of the end zone. In 1947, the Argonauts beat the Blue Bombers on the last-minute punt that went through the end zone. So
good thing there was no social media back then, Joe.
I don't understand why he took it away from the punt, because I mean, this is rugby football rules. That's what the Canadian game is based on, rugby football rules. So I liked it on the missed field goal. That made total sense. Taking it away on a punt, that did not make sense to me. And changing it on a kickoff, where if the ball goes through the end zone on a kickoff, that used to be there was no point awarded if it wasn't touched. And the reason for that was because of the weather conditions in the West, especially in October and November. It gets pretty windy at times, right? So it could be an advantage to a team, kicking the ball with the wind behind them, and they would get a cheap point. So I didn't understand a couple of years ago that the CFL gave a point for some reason for a kickoff that goes through the end zone. So that's my thought on that. The 35-second clock, okay, that was a great idea, but obviously Stuart Johnston did not think about the last 3 minutes, right? Because now he says, well, we're going to have to get together with the Rules Committee and try to find a way to keep that the most exciting part of our game. Well, why didn't you think about that before?
My understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, or maybe just I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, is that, from the end of the play, the 35-second clock will start, but the clock doesn't start. The game clock doesn't start until the ball is set and run in. And, if you're running hurry-up offense, you'd be able to get ready or as close to ready and snap it very quickly, which would be similar to how it is right now.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think the game clock continues to count down once the play is over, and you've got 35 seconds to snap the ball, just like they do in the NFL where they have 40 seconds. The game clock is still moving, depending, of course, whether the play goes out of bounds or not. I mean, I'm still not 100% sure when the clock stops in an NFL game outside of the last 2 minutes if somebody goes out of the end zone or goes out of the sidelines, out of bounds on the sidelines, or if it's an incomplete pass. So I'm not 100% sure how that works in the NFL, but I can offer Stuart Johnston a remedy. Apologize for the phone ringing. Make the last 3 minutes a 20-second, game clock. So go from 35 seconds down to 20 seconds. Go back to what it is now. And you've preserved your final 3 minutes. You don't have to have a big rules committee decide, what we're going to do. And I do not want to see more timeouts. Now you've really Americanized the game. And what's also bothered me is, and I don't want to take shots at TSN personnel, but it's amazing how they all seem to say the same thing. Every one of their CFL, CFL and TSN personalities are using the same talking points. Well, they didn't really change the game. They didn't change the waggle. They didn't change 3 downs. So the commissioner said he couldn't guarantee that when Justin Dunk asked him whether he would guarantee that they wouldn't change to 4 downs. His answer at the press conference was, I don't make guarantees. But now the commissioner is talking about, well, that's part of the game that we're preserving. The biggest part of the game, one of the things that makes Canadian football is the 55-yard line. If you don't have a 55-yard line, you're playing on an American field. You're just Americanizing the game to me. The shorter end zones, I can somewhat understand that. I can understand going to 15 yards on that. I can buy that, and maybe moving the goalpost to the back of the end zone. I don't think it was as big a problem for scoring, to have the goalposts, where they are on the goal line. I didn't think that affected the game that much. He opened up his press conference by saying that, the CFL has, how exciting the game was and what, scoring was up, and he's trying to improve more scoring. I don't want to see the CFL become arena football when it comes to scoring. And that single point, that's the beauty of Canadian football. Because of the different ways to score, you have to also think the game as a head coach and as a fan, because you're thinking, okay, my team is down by 11 points. How do we make up that difference? And with the time allowed that you have. In the CFL game, there's a lot of thinking that one can do as a fan, watching the game and seeing how your team could potentially come back.
Joe, I knew we would get nothing other than a nuanced and reasonable evaluation of it all. I'm sort of with you on most of it. Like, for me, and I will admit, when I think of Canadian football, I think of the wide field, I think of 3 downs, I think of the motion, all of those things. Nothing that they said was maybe the hill to die on for me, but at the same time, I kind of understand why a lot of people have their backs up about it. And the only thing that I'll say is that if the priority for them was moving the goalpost to the back of the end zone, that so significantly changes the ability to kick field goals that it sort of necessitated or forced the field to shrink for the 10 yards. I mean, you know, the proof will be in the pudding moving forward. But I do have to ask you this because of where you are right now. And, you know, this is all done under the guise of growing the game and making the league more successful and all that. Do you think this will make a difference in the 7 markets that are having a tough time making a dollar right now? Because it is a business. It was unanimously approved by the ownership group and governors from every team. They obviously feel that this will help the league moving forward. Do you think it will?
No, I do not. I think there'll be too much of a backlash, and I see potential problems in stadiums like Montreal and here in Winnipeg and Saskatchewan and Calgary, where you have university teams, you have amateur football teams playing on the same field. So what's going to happen if U Sports doesn't change their rules, right? Are they going to then put, and we saw this with the NFL game that was at Princess Auto Stadium a few years ago.
The
right?
80-yard classic?
Yes. So, I mean, so are you going to tell me that there's going to be some kind of, difference in the field where the goalposts are in some kind of turf, problem? I'm not explaining myself well, but where they're going to have to put in the posts for a U Sports game and for a CFL game. They're
essentially move them from the Bombers to when the Bisons are playing.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and there's going to be something on the field. So there could be a depression, there could be a crease in the field, which potentially could lead to an injury, right? And how are they going to quickly change the size of the field, or at least the yard markers on the field? So, and I don't see how they're going to do that in Montreal, because McGill, the McGill Redmond play out of that stadium. They're not just going to change for the sake of the CFL and for the Alouettes. So I don't think that if U Sports decides that they're going to stay with the Canadian game, it's going to be interesting to see where the Alouettes end up playing. I don't think they have too many options.
No, definitely. I mean, listen, here in Winnipeg, and the U of M is like the partner in that stadium. So, I mean, listen, you look at one of the end zones, there's a big Bison thing. I mean, they have a major stake in it. The Dinos play in McMahon. The Rams play, I believe, at Mosaic Stadium. So, I mean, there certainly is. We're going to hopefully get somebody from Football Canada on in the coming weeks to now that they've had a time to kind of digest this, to find out where they're going and how it affects grassroots football in Canada. Although, when we talk about grassroots Canadian football around your neck of the woods in BC, they're playing 4-down football. I mean, there's many different kinds of it.
There's a reason, and why they're playing 4-down football is because they're trying to limit the number of injuries. Because more players in high school and get injured on those special teams, on the kicking plays. So that was sort of the motivation, one of the motivations for going to 4-down football, also to keep the offense on the field, have more action. So I understand why there's 4-down football in some places in Ontario high schools. Where I used to go to high school, they're still playing the 3-down game. So
I mean, they're certainly playing 3-down game here on the prairies. I mean, that I don't think there's ever been a 4-down game played in Manitoba or Saskatchewan. I don't even think in Alberta. I mean, it's some area of BC and some places out east. Hey, thank you again for coming on, and let's connect in the next few weeks when the landscape sort of settles and we see what's cooking for the blue and gold and the rest of the league as we get forward to the playoffs. Always great having you on the show, Joe.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you next time.
Thanks so much. Joe Pascucci at Pascucci015, one of the best follows on X, and a guy we always like to lean on when there's big news and just love talking football with. All right. We've got a lot going on right now. What's up in this baseball game? We've got the first one that has already started. It is 1-0 Tigers right now. Oh, and it looks like they've got a couple guys on in the top of the third. Padres, Cubs coming up at 4. Red Sox, Yankees at 7. a big game tonight between the Niners and the Rams, and then tomorrow, 10 a.m., right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Myself, Jake Bolenmoss, and Pat Gregoire with WST Winners Week 5 edition of the NFL, along with some bonus MLB talk before the division series. And, of course, we'll know by then who the Jays are playing. Let's bring Patty in right now before another big night of sports. Do we have – we just lost Pat just as I was about to bring him in. We'll get him in a minute. I should turn this on right now. But the Tigers, as I mentioned – up 1-0, but they weren't able to cash any of those runs in. All right, let's bring in P. Greggy right now. Pat Gregoire from Coolbet, one of my tag team partners, along with JBM. Tomorrow's show, and again Saturday. By the way, when Illegal Curve finishes, 11 a.m. on Saturday, we're gonna have our first NHL Future Special with picks and props for the upcoming year. I'm not sure what's up with Patty's. Every now and then, this Southern Ontario internet seems to be popping in. I think he looks good right now. He's got a really nice background with a beautiful Sidney Crosby jersey from when we were at the Four Nations in Boston last week. What's
I
the
might
word,
need to
Reem?
send him a new link.
All right. Okay, sounds good. Well, we will do that. Let me hit the lines here and just fill you in on what's going on before we bring Pat in. For the baseball tonight, obviously the Tigers and Guardians are already playing. The 4:00 game at Wrigley, Padres -103, Cubs -114. I've got a Padres future. I'm sort of pulling for, and I want to see this Mason Miller guy pitch again. What a freaking beast! 104 on the black last night. One of the best pitches I've ever seen. And then Red Sox Yankees tonight. The pitching matchup for the Red Sox Yankees. Early for the Sox, Schlittler for the Yankees. And as we mentioned, the Yanks, being the home team, are the favorite, -159. And the Boston Red Sox are +135. The one team that's not playing today is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Well, I guess there's two. The Reds aren't playing either because they're done. But the Dodgers are getting ready to take on the Phillies. And just a little interesting betting note, when we were looking at these odds to win the World Series at the end of the regular season before the wild card started, the Philadelphia Phillies were the favorite at 4-1 to win the World Series. Well, they've just been sitting at home getting ready for the Dodgers. The Dodgers win 2 games, and now the Phillies have dropped out of the favorite to win. So we'll talk about that coming up with Pat right away, and we'll get to tonight's NFL game. Let's bring him in. Looks like Patty's here with a much cleaner connection right now as well. Pat Gregoire of Coolbet joins us now as Remis brings us in. Patty, what's going on? Can you hear me okay? Are we actually connected?
I think so. I don't know if you guys can hear or see me, but no, it's all good here. Again, don't know what's going on. I'm hardwired into my router, so we should be good. As you can see, no more books behind me right now. I'm in a new location, in the process of building a new studio/office here right beside the router so I can be tied in, and which I thought we were going to have any internet issues, but here we are now.
You're cooking now. It is all good. As I mentioned, Tigers have the lead right now. Quick thoughts on Red Sox Yankees tonight. As a card-carrying member of the Jays Nation, never mind who we're gonna bet on, who we think is gonna win. What's the best result for the Toronto Blue Jays tonight?
I think it's for the Yankees to win. And I know the Yankees are the higher seed, and I know the Yankees won 8 straight going in, but this Red Sox team has certainly had their way with the Blue Jays as of late. Crochet certainly scares me. I think he's an automatic scheduled win. He's an absolute unit. So for me, I'd stay away from the Big A's, stay away from this Red Sox team. And as we know, I know we haven't seen it just yet from Judge and some of the bigger bats, but those guys have been known to cool down in the postseason. So I'd rather go up against a team that, is looking to prove that they're not chokers and perennial chokers than a little more of a gritty and determined Red Sox team that has given a lot of fits to this Blue Jays roster.
It should be a great one tonight. And we'll be watching that, and at the same time, the Thursday nighter in the National Football League. I mean, our pal Connor Ravchak, I was talking to him earlier, and he is just depressed right now with what's happening with his Niners. I mean, I guess on a positive note, McCaffrey is still there. Everybody else is out. I mean, as a former Chiefs guy, I had to chuckle when I looked at the receiving core for the Niners tonight, and it's a who's who of guys that have been cut by the Chiefs. MVS, Sky Moore, DeMarcus Robinson. By the way, not surprisingly, the lines moved from 3 to 8.5 tonight. I mean, are we overthinking this, or should this just be an absolute walk for the LA Rams?
I mean, when you look at all the injuries, you look at the way that the Rams have played this year. Me personally, like we were talking off air, I've been all in on the Rams. I know there was a lot of people who were kind of fading the Rams to start the year, kind of doubting this Rams club.
Stafford was in a hyperbaric chamber for a month during training camp.
Well, it seemed to have worked because they have been pretty good. Just for me, though, just way too many injuries. I know it's short rest for both clubs. Mac Jones, I don't know how much I really trust in him. It's just over a touchdown at 8.5. If it was closer to that touchdown, I'd feel a little bit better. But I don't know. I feel like the Rams roll here. I think all these injuries are just going to catch up to this 49ers team. And it's not just on the offensive side of the ball. No Bosa. And they got torched on the ground last week against the Jaguars on the ground because they didn't have Bosa to kind of plug up those holes. I think it could be a long night here for the 49ers.
Now, let me propose to you a little action for tonight on this game. You mentioned the running game. I see this game as the Niners not doing much offensively. And with it being a short week and a Thursday game, the Rams being more than happy to just win this game, get the hell out of here, get the extra rest, and move on to week 6. So if they have a lead, I certainly expect them to run the football to try to drain the clock. Kyren Williams has been really solid this year. I think 66 in the 90s, and then in the 70s last week on just 13 carries. His rushing prop for tonight is 67.5. I love the over on that. I'm trying to figure out who the hell is going to do anything outside of McCaffrey, who will have so much attention on him in this game. And I've settled on tight end Jake Tongas. His reception prop tonight is, where are we? I believe it's 3.5. Sorry, I'm in the yards right now. I want the receptions. Player receptions. Here we are. Jake Tongas, plus 129 on over 3.5 catches. And even though it's a low total, I mean, if we believe and think that this Niner team is going to be relatively pedestrian on offense and the Rams are going to be more than comfortable with just winning the game, like I almost don't even want to touch the spread, even though I think it's like a no-brainer. I wouldn't think of betting the Niners. But what do we think about Kyren Williams over, Jake Tongas over 3.5 catches, and an under on the game?
I'm definitely not opposed to that. I wasn't planning on playing a side. If I had to pick a side, I'd probably take Rams. It's funny you mentioned that. I've got 3 props written down here. One of them is that Kyren Williams rushing over. I think you could also play some alternates to get him over that 70 number. I really think just when you look at, I mentioned how they got gashed up on the ground last week, giving up 124 yards to the Jaguars. But also you just factor into that this is going to be a blowout. I don't know how much Stafford's going to hand the ball. And McVay has made it abundantly clear he wants to get Kyren Williams even more carries than he has been getting. Wants to get him going. And I know they're going to get some touches for Blake Corum, but I think this is for sure a no-brainer there. I'm riding with your other pick. I think that's great. The other one I like is Christian McCaffrey over his reception yards. Did you know McCaffrey's got more reception yards than rushing yards so far this year? It's crazy. He's averaging 7.8 catches per game, 10.8 targets, and over 75 receiving yards through the first 4 weeks per game. Like this guy he really, really is doing a lot of great things in the air. The fact that it's Mac Jones, so expect a lot of dip and dunking us. And then, of course, Purcell's out, Jennings is out. You're right. There's not going to be a lot of offense here. So I'm okay with your other pick. And then the third one, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. Do we really even have to explain it? It's a primetime game, so we're going over on the field goals. It's at minus 105. Both teams averaging 2 field goals a game. 2 plus 2 equals 4. That equals a cash for us. So I'll be betting that one, no doubt about it as well. But I think this parlay comes in really nicely. What's the total right now? 43 and a half. That's pretty low. That's pretty low, but
I don't think the Niners get double digits.
I don't think so either. And I don't know how much of I could see Stafford out of this game, late third quarter, fourth quarter, like not playing anymore. And they're just handing the ball off and trying to finish this game without any injuries.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, if they're up by 20, that might mean some more quorum. But Patty's primetime parlay is up, and it's boosted from plus 366 to plus 422. Over 5.5 McCaffrey receptions. Kyren Williams rushing attempts over 15.5. And the total field goals made over 3.5. So on this one, we go with the Williams, the yardage. And I'll be honest, I don't even mind. You mentioned about another prop. Like, what? How about this? Because we can get a plus number on both of these props along with the under. If we go with the rushing yards, if we go over 72.5, it's plus 107.
Okay.
And I feel good about that. So over 72.5 for Kyren Williams, over 3.5 catches for Tongas, and the under. Let me see what that comes into if we crank it into the old thing. So it's plus 129 on that, and then we add in the under. And I think I can't see it properly because of my stupid screen. Wow, plus 809 before a boost. I think we
we could probably get that to 10-1 for sure.
Well, I will let the Ev Dog and the tall foreheads in Coolbet HQ take care of that. But that would be awesome. So 72.5 is our number for Williams. 4+ catches for Tongas. Under on the total. And if we can pop that up, I think I will get on it and hopefully a few other WSTers. It has been a great week. And by the way, just to preview tomorrow's show for the NFL, while I did own a 1-win week, 1-3 against the spread, I have bounced back in a big way, 2-0, parlayed them on Monday, had a double touchdown scorer, and then everything with baseball has been going good. So, Pat, despite some real difficulties in picking the spreads, everything else so far, and you have been the prop master all year long, and now I've sort of followed suit, being perfect for the last couple of weeks. So I think it's all coming together. And not only do we get to talk football tomorrow, but we're going to squeeze in a few picks because we will have, at the end of this Yankees-Red Sox game tonight, 4 more series and the final 8 in Major League Baseball to touch on.
Yeah, this is why this is the best time of the year, man. It's unbelievable. And, thank you for the flowers on the props. But, yeah, you were perfect on props. And I know baseball's been going really nice for you as well. But let's not forget, I don't think I've been on the show since the Ryder Cup. We got to give ourselves a little bit of a round of applause.
Oh, Barry Horowitz.
The winner.
Self-pat on the back.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. We got Europe at plus 165. I saw you use that 30% profit boost at Coolbet.
That was the best.
We had Tommy Fleetwood plus 550 to be the point score leader for Team Europe. And let's not forget, we also, and I'm pretty sure you were on this too, Dander Shoffley, plus 850 to beat Team USA's highest point scorer. I mean, it could not have gone any better for us. And it just rolls right into baseball. It's going to roll right into our future show and continue on for the NFL this Sunday.
You know what? I was taking heat from Dusty and some other folks with, missing a couple of games. Then I looked at everything else. And most importantly, the bottom line on my Coolbet account. And it's been a very good week, and let's keep it rolling. And of course, we'll tease Saturday morning, 11 a.m., right after our pals Illegal Curve finish up. We have a pretty extensive NHL show where we're going to be going through our favorite picks on point totals for teams, over-unders, division winners, conference and cup, to make the playoffs numbers, player props, and maybe if you want to kind of dive into that before we do the show, head on over to the NHL section, because the futures tab in the NHL has never been more loaded than it is right now as we count down until next week for the drop of the puck.
Yeah, and don't forget, also hit that exclusives tab. There's a bunch of other cool exclusive parlays and crazy alternate numbers, and there's going to be a fair share of Jets that you're going to want to touch on as well.
Yeah, I would direct you to this right now. If you go to the NHL, the exclusives, Remis, you're going to want a piece of this. NHL regular season exclusives. Kyle Connor, 50 goals, 17-1. So the KFC crew here in the Peg, I think, that's going to be big time liability for the folks right there. Don't tell them until we're able to get on it. Patty, enjoy the game tonight. We'll look forward to getting that up, and we'll be jumping on it in the combo cards as soon as it's ready to go. And then we'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to dive into Week 5 in the National Football League. Have a good one tonight. Thanks for doing this, pal.
Thanks for having me, boys. We'll see you tomorrow.
You got it. There's Pat Gregoire again tomorrow, 10 a.m. Myself, Jake, and Pat back into the lab for the week in the CFL. Remo, what do you think about that 17-1 on KFC, 50 goals? He barely scored on the power play at all last year. I could not believe that number was as high as it was.
Yeah, we touched on that one yesterday. I thought it was, I think it's definitely achievable for him. I think it would be the odds are, reflect that, and why not have some fun, cheer for a Kyle Connor 50-goal season. You get, a nice payday, so like a couple bucks gives you a good payout. So he's definitely capable of it. He's going to get the ice time. He's going to get the power play time. And yeah, the power play goals weren't really there last year, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to be close if he plays 82. I think you could have a nice sweat. He had 47 in 21-22. Last year had 41, and as you said, got cold. But he's going to get the ice time. He's got the skill. So I liked it for a fun bet going into the season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There you go. So anyways, there's tons of NHL exclusives out right now. There's also for some teams. We've cooked up a couple other ones from the show that we're going to have on Monday or on Saturday. And then early next week, Monday, in all likelihood, myself, Connor, and Remis will dive in, and we'll all have our favorite Jets picks, and Connor and Reem will give us their favorite picks for the rest of the National Hockey League before we drop the puck on Thursday. Fun show tonight. Who you got? Cubs, Padres, and Red Sox, Yankees.
Yeah, coming in, I liked your parlay, how you had Padres and Red Sox. I'll go with that. I was nervous about San Diego, losing the first game. Good pitching matchup. Darvish against Canadian Jamison Tyone. Darvish, his numbers don't look that good, but in a big game, certainly a nice arm. And I'll go with the Red Sox over the Yankees. It would be nice to see the Yankees, not a good baseball team as per Buck Martinez, only good at hitting home runs, and that doesn't get it done in the playoffs. So I'll go with the road teams. That doesn't feel great, but that's who we pick going in, and nice to have 3 winner go home games today.
Oh my God, this is so awesome. Jack Flaherty, by the way, dealing so far, just 1 hit and 4 Ks through 3 innings for the Tigers. They're heading to the bottom of 4. Detroit up on Cleveland. And yeah, our series parlay is still alive. Dodgers are in. We need the Tigers, Padres, and Red Sox today. And that one was over 12-1. So we'll see if we can cook that one up. Tomorrow, big day on the station. 10 a.m. WST winners, and then 1 o'clock, I guess is the final. This would be a preseason game day edition of WST. And then next week, the game day shows actually matter, Reem. And of course, the countdown continues to Thursday at the rink.
Yeah, is tomorrow's game on TV, or am I gonna have to fire up the app? No, TSN 3. So we'll get another.
Yeah,
edition.
It is on TV. The one in Calgary. There was only 2 games that weren't going to be regularly broadcast. It was Saturday, and it was the game in Minnesota. So full TV Saturday for the game. No Bombers this weekend, so we can check that out. And then that's the real thing next week.
Yeah, awesome. I'm starting to look at fantasy. Got some drafts coming up. I'm excited for the daily fantasy for hockey as well. As you mentioned, those days where they have so many games, you can look at all the props and stuff. So got multiple TVs set up for this time of year, computers, tablets. Because look, you got Sports Equinox coming up. It's just around the corner where you're going to have baseball, hockey, basketball. I'm planning my basketball fantasy draft. What's the other one? Football, Thursday night. Football seemingly on every day. Now, CFL, we haven't even touched on that with the Bombers out of action. There are CFL games tomorrow. Well, one tomorrow, Saskatchewan at Ottawa. I did like your CFL 110 parlay, actually.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I forgot to mention that. And we've got a nice boost. Oh, man, the lines... It's even better now than it was before. What are the actual CFL lines right now? So Saskatchewan is only a 3-point favorite now. I'm shocked that they went down. So Saskatchewan laying 3 in Ottawa. Hamilton -1.5. And BC -3.5. And we were sort of riding with the favorites. But if you want to get on the boost with us, we've got Saskatchewan -3.5. So Saskatchewan to win by 4. Ticats to win, and BC -3.5. That is boosted up to +664 from +562. And I'm keeping a keen eye on the combo cards because I want to jump in on that same gamer we did for tonight's game, or it may be in the exclusives. But it's all there at Coolbet, and WST if you haven't played there before. 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. Good stuff tonight, Rue. I know you got a big dinner tonight. All the best to you and the family. And, of course, everyone enjoying this gorgeous weather and all these games that we've got on tap for this evening. That is going to do it for us, gang. Thanks to a busy show today. Scooch, Joe Pascucci, Pat Gregoire, Ken Wiebe, Jessi Pierce, Dave Pagnotta, and all of you for making us a part of your day. Tomorrow, our first Chud's Power Sports Power Poll drops. We'll have Hacksaw come on. Rowicki's going to join us. Jeff Hamilton, and much more. So make sure to join us. And, of course, the latest on the Jets as they head out to Calgary for one more preseason game. Find out what the latest on Jonathan Toews and more right here, starting at 1 on Winnipeg Sports Talk. See you at 10 for the football picks and 1 p.m. right here tomorrow for a Friday edition, including the marble race of WST. Have a great night, everybody.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.